We are live. Zoe, yes, it is 7:30. 1 minute late, actually, fortunately. But we're here.
Oh, he was.
CJ haircut.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Haircut, white tees.
Wow.
Are you joining the Gaslight Anthem, or are you becoming Bruce Springsteen? It looks like I'm doing a show with a couple of Springsteen guys over here is what it looks like.
That's right.
Looks like I'm doing Born in the USA here.
That's the goal here.
Yeah.
What was the impetus for the haircut?
I woke up one day and was like, I think that's enough.
Wow.
I think that's enough.
I'm going to miss it.
I remember, of course, Mike's experiment with long hair happened on the pod.
Yeah.
Mine did.
Unfortunately, yes.
Mine did about 20 years ago, and I cut it off the same way. Mine was down to here, and I just said it was raining. It became annoying the day it was raining.
Yeah,
it's hot and raining, so I took clippers at home and just shaved my head.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I found myself. I have a lot of work travel coming up, and I didn't want to have that in the back of my mind. Like, these people are looking at me thinking, "Oh, look at this unkempt fella." But then also, I just found myself wearing a hat a lot of the time, and was like, it's probably a sign that I'm doing something wrong.
There are so many middle points when you're growing your hair, like uncomfortable, awkward in between stages and it takes longer. It takes a really long time to get your hair to be long.
Yeah. I did want to get it to that point of that length, but not this time. Maybe next time.
Well, you're still young.
Yeah. Got time.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Looks like you're about to go to basic training.
Mike, did you talk about New York at all? How it was?
I mean, It was great. I walked around like crazy. I ate everything. It was 11 days of hard drinking and hard eating.
Right. But how was the film festival
Oh, it was good.
itself?
It was good.
Was that your first one?
What's that?
Was that your first one? First time going
No,
there?
I'd been to a couple small ones. Definitely the biggest one, and it was Alyssa's film, so I was just there as producer in name and more supportive husband in role. And it was cool. It was fun. It was fun to see her out there. Embarrassing red carpet stuff. It felt very weird to do that.
I know you'd mentioned that it was only available to be seen at the film festival. Now that that's over, is it being released anywhere?
No, she's still waiting to hear from a couple festivals, and so it can't go online yet. But eventually, maybe it'll go online, and I'll let you know and stuff.
Nice.
But it's great. She did a great job. It's fun. It's fun to see it on a big screen. Fun to see anything on a big screen. I prefer it.
Got to get this pod on the big screen.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, let's
Get us
do
in
it.
a film festival.
Yep.
Nice hour and 20 minutes
Yep.
of this, whatever
Can you
we do.
imagine?
Gonna need better cameras again.
Yep.
Oh, CJ.
A few
Sorry,
more
Mike.
wires.
Yeah. All right, let's go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS. It's brought to you by BodyBio. Get 20% off any BodyBio order with code Mike's Tummy, all one word, at bodybio.com. LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. And Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. Subscribe at rightstoRickySanchez.com/newsletter. On the show today, reports that the Sixers are no longer that interested in Paul George anymore. We will read tea leaves about what that might mean. Some other updates as far as free agency goes as we count down to June 30th. The most insane article about Tobias Harris ever written, or about any basketball player ever written. I will read selections to Mike from it. And I will start the show after the intro song by giving Mike maybe the most depressing fact I've ever thought of about basketball that I thought of while I was walking this morning. Get ready, Mike. Surfside iced tea and vodka. We love it. And you know who else loves it? Literally everybody else. I was at the bank on Wednesday, Citizens Bank Park on Wednesday, and literally like every other person has a Surfside. Now, it's 95 degrees here in the Northeast right now, and great way to cool off, especially if you're being responsible at home with or without friends. Maybe you're just sitting in your backyard. Surfside iced tea and vodka. Maybe just try the lemonade and vodka, which is my favorite, or the peach tea and vodka, or the raspberry tea and vodka, or the green tea and vodka, whatever you want. there is a variety pack you can get at statesidevodka.com. And if you're in PA or Jersey or any of the states that Surfside is in, you can find it wherever you get, canned alcoholic beverages. Except for PA, where you can't get it at a beer distributor, but you can get it at a liquor store. Don't understand that, but laws are great. So you got to be 21 and enjoy responsibly, please. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Gaskin. I see CJ nodding because I waited till the song was over because he did the fucking AI thing again on the last pod because I started too early. I'm Spike Gaskin along with a guy who, oh man, I had a good one. Fuck. But then I confused myself. How you doing, Mike? We doing good?
Oh man, I'm still upset about the Celtics.
Well, that leads me to something I thought of while taking a walk this morning.
Yeah.
So you ready for this?
Yeah.
Incredibly depressing. So since I don't really run anymore since the replacement hip, I walk for like hour and a half every morning.
Dildo hip.
I think got a dildo hip in there. And I thought of this and I Googled it to make sure that it was true, but it is. So Mike, to win the championship this year, the Boston Celtics this season won 4 playoff series. In the entire Embiid era, the 76ers have won 4 playoff series.
Yeah.
I mean,
against no good teams. Also.
Yeah, not one good team.
Not a single one.
The Celtics won as many playoff series this year as the Sixers have won in the entire length of this podcast, the last 11 years.
Yeah, that's a bad fact. I don't like it.
It's horrible, right?
That's a reclining fact.
Oh, wow.
Oh, God damn it. Jesus.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Let's keep going.
We got laid back Mike. Well, so we are 8 days away from June 30th at 6 p.m. You okay?
It's so upsetting. What are we doing?
Yep. Keep doing it. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I feel like if I do that right before we start talking about the off season, I'm sort of reminding everyone that the movie's fake before we start the horror movie. Yes. Guess what? They're not going to run out of the house. They're going to stay in the house,
Not the horror movies. It's like the love story is fake.
Yes.
The horror movie is real.
The horror movie's real. Yeah.
Okay.
That's an early recline.
Let's go.
Okay. So let's start with Paul George.
Okay.
And I will do my best. We will do our best, though I believe of the two of us, I am more known for the tea leaf reading. But this Shams report comes out June 20th. Quote, the Philadelphia 76ers interest in pursuing Paul George has significantly waned in recent days. And the franchise is expected to be aggressive elsewhere with its salary cap flexibility and draft capital leading into next week's NBA draft, sources tell The Athletic. And this, per Brian Windhorst, the Clippers have not been willing to meet Paul George's price. He remains unsigned. You can't just look at teams with cap space. If Paul George changes teams, it's very likely going to be a situation where he opts into his contract and requests a trade. And then finally, this is also from Shams, from the Pat McAfee show, courtesy of Sixers Galaxy, who has me fucking blocked. but it doesn't matter because I can get to you on one of my other accounts. The signal they've been giving teams around the league is they are open for business. They feel like over the next week or so, they can be aggressive. And if there's an option that presents itself, they can move on and not have to wait on Paul George in free agency. And finally, per Jake Fisher, a key tidbit, I wouldn't discount the Sixers' interest in Paul George until his status is finalized with Los Angeles or elsewhere. George has been atop Philadelphia's wish list for some time should the Sixers get the chance to talk with George on June 30th. So, is somebody correcting me? Sixers have won 5 series.
Hey, we did it.
There we go.
There we go.
I forgot about one of them.
That's why you don't think about facts on walks.
Yep. I Googled it even.
All right, I'll sit up for
All right,
that.
there we go. All right, everything's better.
I'll sit up.
Fuck you, Celtics. We fucking
did
got
win
you.
5.
Yeah, dickheads.
And it's a 5 with an asterisk because we won the play-in game.
Yeah. We basically won 6 playoff series.
Kinda.
Dickheads.
Still no good team though.
Yeah. So
this is why we'll talk about the tea leaf for a second, but this is why the cap space plan
is tough.
Was always pretty fake because big time superstars that make max contract money don't just look around and see who has cap space and go, okay, I guess out of these teams, I'm going there. Because they are desirable by every team, and they can find ways in a sign and trade or an opt-in and trade or whatever to make it to get where they want to go. And, hopefully they have more plans than this. Hopefully there are backup plans that are good, that aren't just like fucking whoever we can find is now here and this was our plan all along. But like, bleak, man. Real bleak.
So when you have a report like this, the first thing you want to do is try to figure out where it could have come from and what benefit it causes. So to me, and I went through all these in the newsletter actually about who it could have come from. It most likely comes from the Sixers, in my opinion. And
oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And here are the couple of different ways a couple of different things it could mean. And it could be a combination of all these things, by the way. And I will headline it and say, regardless of what Shams reports, if the Sixers know they have the opportunity to sign Paul George into cap space and give him a max contract, I believe, and I think you believe as well, that is their primary option and they would do it. Regardless of what this report says, if they knew they had that would be the option that they would take. Given that the likely or possible options, that seems to be their desired number one. So I wouldn't just think that they lost interest for some reason. All right. So what could it mean?
No, I don't know that their interest, unless there was like a secret injury that they heard about. Like, I don't know that the interest can wane.
Right.
I don't think that happens.
Yeah. So the first thing that it could mean is they don't think they're going to get him, and they want to do 2 things. They want to, A, get out in front of it from a PR standpoint, and B, maybe even more importantly, let the rest of the league know that we are open for business. And with the draft being 6 days away, and I think I had said it in the last pod or 2 pods ago, that would be a major inflection point for all this player movement anyway. So knowing what Paul George's intentions are by the draft would be pretty important in a lot of different ways. So that's the first thing that it could be. The second thing that it could be, and it could be a combination of both of them as I think about it, is they're obviously still interested in Paul George, but they have not gotten any feedback or enough feedback to know where they stand with Paul George. They cannot have specific conversations about Paul George with Paul George or Paul George's agent.
Yeah, that never happened.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, or they have not received the communication they would like to receive to at least feel confident one way or another. So by leaking,
Carol has his mouth taped. I'm being censored by the woke CBA.
the what's it called? The effort here is to sort of signal to the Paul George camp, if you are counting on us to be there to have this money, we're going to have to know that earlier, because we can't go into this draft and we're presented with an opportunity. Let's just say, for instance, Brandon Ingram, for lack of a better thing.
Yeah.
We don't know where you stand, so we need more information. And they could be frustrated that they don't have more information, and they're trying to apply pressure by doing it that way. Those are the only two options I see. I agree with Jake. I would not count it out, but I think it's pretty obvious that like Paul George is not like dying to go to the Sixers, that he wants to stay in Los Angeles. There is some sort of, disconnect there as to how much he's going to get. And the last thing I would say is that people say all the time, well, if Paul George really wants to win, he'll come to Philly and not, go to Los Angeles. And I just think to myself, really? Are we really sure that if somebody's primary goal is to win a championship, that we are the best option? There are a lot of options out there, especially given an opt-in and trade, that may provide Paul George debatably an equal or better chance of winning a championship. So
yeah, I mean, he could opt in and demand a trade to the Knicks.
Sure.
Plenty of options.
Dallas,
Miami.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's certainly, and honestly, the Miami thing starts to make some sense, given that Jimmy tried to get himself traded to the Clippers before. And there was a report floating around from Howard Beck, and it's not really a report if you read the article. So the quote was, Jimmy Butler will get traded, but the article was, make predictions about this offseason. Sure. So, he's saying that executives have been thinking that Jimmy Butler's going to get traded, so on and so forth. But, once you start thinking about Paul George's options that way, Philadelphia becomes like less likely or attractive.
Yeah, which is why the cap space thing was always not as like automatic and realistic. We are the best team with cap space. Someone can just walk in and sign here. It's like, well, they don't want to.
Yeah,
they don't fucking want to. It seems to me like Paul George just doesn't want to come here. I think that there's some rationale to what you were saying about like they haven't been able to lock him down, get a straight answer out of it, and so they're saying, hey, we're not going to be here because of the trades that are starting to happen. Obviously, the Giddey Caruso trade, which I think opens the door to, I mean, who knows? The Bulls are a fucking shit show and with no discernible process or path. But it could mean that DeRozan is going to walk. And that would then be a sort of, another opportunity for someone to walk in here, obviously not as good as Jimmy Butler, does some similar things, and could be had for less money when you don't have to trade a ton for him. So that I think I haven't seen people really talk about that as a possibility. Just the idea of like Giddey and DeMar DeRozan on the same team just makes so little sense. It just makes so little sense. So maybe they do it, but it seems insane. So that to me is, what is more appealing to you? DeMar DeRozan walks in here, signs a 3-year, $100 million contract, give or take, whatever, or trading several picks for Jimmy. Say it's 3. Say it's 3 picks for Jimmy.
I'm really thinking about this.
Yeah.
Probably DeRozan.
Yeah. I worry. The Jimmy thing, obviously, I love Jimmy. I think it is fair to say we look upon that half a year, more fondly than it felt at the time. Obviously, he was great, but also it was
weird, as Mike wrote in his article. Yeah,
there was a lot of agita.
Yeah.
It wasn't a comfortable time. Maybe it would be better now with that the fit is way better with Maxey and Joel and a coach that really maybe is more in line with Jimmy's ethos and Nick Nurse. And maybe because he's older, I don't know, who knows. But I love Jimmy, but if Miami is going, we're good, we'll trade you, that just makes me scared.
Yeah.
I am an avowed scared money type of person because I look at Paul George and I look at Jimmy, and I think if that person comes here, something must be wrong with them. Like, it will be bad. They're going to get injured. They're not, whatever. If Paul George doesn't come here, I feel like, fuck, we're screwed. If Jimmy, if goddamn, we're fucking screwed. It's like either way, I can feel that. And that is what many years of being a Sixers fan has trained me to do. That if we get the guy, it's going to be Al Horford or fucking George Hill or whoever disappointed here for so often, Josh Richardson. And if they don't come here, it's going to be like, that was the guy we missed out on. That's why we are not going to win a championship. The thing I like about DeRozan is another guy to, I think when Embiid is out, DeRozan can carry offense with him and Maxey. That is a viable plan. And he's got the relationship with Nick Nurse. And I think there's more options for late game. Okay, they're smothering Maxey with size. Embiid, they're doubling, whatever. We can get DeRozan in from the mid range and he can get a good shot at any point, or he gets to the line. I think DeRozan's ability to get to the line has been like wildly undervalued because of how many teams he's been on that have just been like mediocre. And on this team, he would be the third best player on the team. Obviously, the catch and shoot situation, it would be something to work around, and you'd have to surround those guys with very quick trigger shooters to make up for it. But I think in a series of imperfect options, having DeRozan for less money and having all your picks to trade, that to me, if Paul George isn't going to come here and Jimmy's going to cost too much and Brandon Ingram is like just not also going to cost more, and then you're going to have to give him a bunch of money and many years afterwards, DeRozan at a price might be a sweet spot of like, you can do other stuff. You can surround him with better role players. But he's still, it's sort of a bridge, right? Because they're saying like, well, maybe just do the role player plan, like the Bruce Brown type plan, the KCP type plan, whatever. Or you go get Paul George or Jimmy Butler and you're locked into those three guys, whatever. To me, DeRozan is sort of in the middle ground between those things, where you can have some star potential and some role player potential. I don't think DeRozan is a Daryl guy, and he's certainly not a perfect fit. But in a series of imperfect options, that might be the best one to go with.
I might have changed my mind. I'll think about it while I talk about BodyBio. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by BodyBio. So this has been important this week. E-Lite, if you're watching. E-Lite is made by BodyBio. E-Lite is pure electrolytes. And you don't have to drink some sports drink with artificial flavors or colors or sugar or whatever in it. It's just electrolytes. You put a little I put a little in my water in the morning, seltzer actually, and then a little at night, and it keeps you perfectly hydrated. When it is 95 degrees outside and I'm taking a 90-minute walk and I'm sweating and I feel like shit or whatever, this makes sure I don't cramp up later in the day, and it makes sure, being hydrated is one of the most important things about being healthy. I don't know if you know this, but you're 99.9% water. Now, that's not a true number, but it's something like that. And making sure that you're properly hydrated is important. Hydration important, brain important, also gut important. If you're going to take one gut supplement, sodium butyrate, Mike swears by it, BodyBio sells it, going to keep your bloat down, going to keep you regular. You see gut supplements all over the place, but BodyBio has the best one. They are small, they are nimble, small, I say they're not some big giant company. And the good thing about that is they can take better care of, quality control. If something doesn't measure up to their standards, they do not sell it. And they can change formulas when they need to as the science changes. We love BodyBio. Go to bodybio.com, use code Mike's Tummy, all one word, for 20% off. Mike's Tummy for 20% off anything at bodybio.com. BodyBio. So I keep thinking about this DeRozan thing versus the Jimmy thing.
Yeah.
And I know it's not the same, but I keep thinking about Tobias and Jimmy. And isn't the answer just to pick the better player and Jimmy's the better player? If given the two options, then DeRozan.
Yeah, it's just a matter of if it costs you two picks, then that's probably worth doing, given medicals. I mean, DeRozan's also a far healthier player than
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Jimmy's had a lot of injury issues, and DeRozan just hasn't had that many. He's played at least 60 games every season of his career. I'm looking at it now. And it's worth mentioning, last year was the most threes DeMar has taken per game is 3.5 in his last year in Toronto when Nick Nurse was an assistant there. And the second most is last year. So he went down with the Spurs, went down with the Bulls, and then last year was 2.8 threes per game. There's a chance that he's more willing to do it now. I mean, who knows? This not, we're guessing, but if we can get that up to like, if he did 3.5 his last year in Toronto, that was 6 years ago. If we can get that up to 4, then we're working with something. And he's never played with players as good as Embiid and Maxey. So I mean,
by you saying
these are all imperfect options. Like none of them are great. Like
So-
Paul George walking in here was the best option, and
it's not going to happen.
it probably isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And also, like, that was not perfect either. Like, these guys are old. Like, that's why the Cade Cunningham plan that a listener emailed in about, that I have grabbed the torch for and carried it into battle.
And trying to will it into existence.
Monty Williams fired. Maybe that's just like shake up in Detroit. They build around Jaden Ivey. Cade.
Can I
Cade.
ask, so are you saying that one of the reasons that DeRozan is better than Jimmy is
I don't think not.
his availability?
No, I don't think he's better than Jimmy. I definitely don't think
the
he's better
number one ability is availability.
I don't know. You're
give
just
me that
talking
shit.
about all these games played.
Don't give me that shit. I'm not saying, I never said availability wasn't a factor. It's simply not the best one. Ridiculous.
So
no, if it was all things being equal, I would take Jimmy. But I think with the picks, the DeRozan just walking in here and being like, having the relationship with Nurse, I think is a plus. And being just a generally like more agreeable guy. Was just on stage with Russell Westbrook at the Kendrick concert in LA. Fun. I don't know. There's none of these options are great. Like, this is what it is. Like, you can't, unless you're drafting a young player or trading for someone at a supreme undervalue, the way that Darryl did with Harden many years ago in Houston. Like, you're gonna have to get guys that are either young and inexperienced and haven't quite put it together, and maybe that's Ingram. He's not that young, but youngish, or old, and see if you can like wring out a few years of healthy-ish prime as the third best player on this team.
Speaking of DeMar DeRozan, we got this voicemail to 833 Lickface that is related.
Hey, this is Jack from New Jersey, calling possibly for more cope when it comes to Alex Caruso getting traded to the OKC Thunder. I was kind of pissed off. I was kind of mad. I thought, hey, Darryl, why didn't we get that guy for 2 first-round picks? He seemed to be worth 2 first-round picks to me, And the fact that OKC Thunder got him for Josh Giddey seems a bit unfair, But then it's that thing, right, where the Sixers had more than Josh Giddey to trade for Alex Caruso, but so did the Oklahoma City Thunder. And so you ask yourself this question: how the fuck did the Bulls organization not get more from the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that must trade their first round pick? But the fact that they didn't even get a first round pick from them, I don't know.
He just went on and on for another 30.
No, it's crazy. I think the Bulls are just a really poorly run organization.
Well, also, the Sixers couldn't trade for Alex Caruso, even if it only cost 1 first-round pick, because they might need all their first-round picks. They're stuck.
Right. I mean, I think I think the Sixers offered stuff at the deadline for Caruso, in addition to other teams.
Sure, but talking about right
it's
now.
It's been reported they were offered 2 first-round picks for Caruso at the deadline and said no.
But also, by the way, first-round picks are all different.
Yeah.
And, like, if it's a first-round pick that you think is going to be late, if it's too late first-round picks, I could understand the Bulls valuing Giddey.
But they were getting that offer from so many teams, and then it is crazy to trade him to the Thunder, who have all the picks, and
not get a pick.
at least get a second. It's so crazy to get just Josh Giddey, who is like a very, 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 very flawed player. could be dynamic with the ball in his hands, is a good passer, is a big guard, whatever. But like he wasn't guarded in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well,
He
but
wasn't guarded.
all that said, I don't think all that put away that we're here now in the offseason. I don't think the Sixers, without knowing what the rest of, they couldn't have traded for him. So it just doesn't matter.
If Caruso was still in the Bulls in a month, and the free agency, what has happened has like shaken out already, then you could go to the Bulls and say like, okay, now that we know this, we would like to make this trade. But I agree that you couldn't burn it on Caruso right now.
And that's part of the problem that they're in is, yes, they have, from an asset standpoint, they're not barren, but they're missing two things. First of all, they're missing any young players they can really trade of any value. But the second thing that they're missing is they don't have excess. Like they have just exactly enough to be in a conversation for a really good player, but they could also get outbid by a lot of places for that. So they have to be very careful, I think, right now.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the deal. Like a lot of teams, the Bulls are a team, the Raptors were a team, and what they got for Siakam and Anunoby, they want particular things that are not just a boatload of picks and shit. And maybe those teams are wrong to want that. They should want the picks. They should want a full rebuild, whatever, because they're not going anywhere. But some teams, some owners, whatever, don't want to do that. And so you can't just say, hey, Bulls, we have the best offer. Take it. They might just want Josh Giddey. And you just got to go like, well, fuck you. You're wrong. And that's dumb, but fine. And obviously second in command of the Bulls, the Bulls fans really hate Arturas Karnisovas. But second in command of the Bulls, Mark Eversley.
Former Sixer.
Yeah. Brian Colangelo's number 2. Matisse Thybulle, telegrapher.
Yep.
That's not a well-run organization.
Doesn't seem like it.
If they attached a pick to LaVine and a pick to the Sixers,
right. So here's the issue.
Would you do it?
Here's the issue that, as I see it.
Yeah.
Let's forget about the pick for a second, just for a moment. We'll consider it when we circle back, but. Yeah. Because LaVine's value is obviously a negative value.
Yeah.
If you don't think that LaVine is part of the solution in Philadelphia or have a reasonable belief that it is, and you're just doing it for the asset, then it will cost the asset to get rid of LaVine in theory anyway. So you're not +1 asset at the end of it. I understand the concept. I understand what you're asking, but I don't think getting a pick.
Well, I think it's not as clear cut as that.
Well, I guess what I would say is either you believe in LaVine or you don't believe in LaVine.
Right, but I think it's not. I think you can believe in LaVine and go like, hey, the market on him is nobody's going to fucking trade for him, and we can't get a pick for him, so that's good negotiating by Daryl if that happens, or by whoever. If you can believe in LaVine and go like, okay, he's only got.
And create value, you mean?
Yeah. He's only got 3 years left in his contract. So the difference between LaVine at this price versus you wouldn't have to extend him. You have to assume he picks up his $48.9 million option in his third year. So that's 3 years to have him under team control. It is something worth thinking about if the price is we give you money, we give you a pick for him.
I'm not
like
totally.
It's not like it's Lonzo, right? If it's not like it's a guy who's never going to play basketball again, and you go like, okay, we'll just take the contract. We'll take Ben Simmons because the pick that comes with him. I think this is the market on LaVine is very, very poor.
Yep.
So Daryl can go. We will take him off of your hands, so you can do whatever you want, but you'll have to pay a first-round pick for us to, commit to that. Then the Sixers have 6 first-round picks. They can go, okay, now we can fill out a team of Maxey, LaVine, and Embiid with a ton of long defenders that play their ass off. LaVine, similar to DeRozan, different kind of player, obviously, but like can carry the offense with Maxey on nights that Embiid's not there. He's a very dynamic offensive player and a very dynamic off-ball shooter.
Oh, he can certainly carry the offense or do that thing that we wanted Tobias to do or theoretically want. He's
in a way that like Anunoby would not be able to. As
correct.
You said on the last podcast.
Catching, he's much more deficient, obviously, as a defensive player and has been hurt a lot and yada, yada, yada. But we would have some great moments. Like, I wouldn't mind watching Zach LaVine. But I guess the question is, to what end, I guess, is,
This is these are a series of imperfect options. All of them are imperfect. None of them is like, well, this has no downside whatsoever. Every one of them has supreme downside, in fact. One of which being, if you just go like, okay, let's just do the safe one. Let's get like KCP on this price. Let's sign like Luke Kennard on this price. And then you look around and you go like, well, we're just not that good. Embiid played 55 games again, and Maxey had to carry the team.
We won 51 games. We're the 6th seed. Yeah.
And it's just like that's hard. That's hard. That's hard to do. So it's tricky. Now I like the idea of getting somebody who does not cost $50+ million, so that you can have a little bit more flexibility in getting the right kind of role players in here. Whether it is KCP. There was a good article that Kevin O'Connor wrote for The Ringer about finding the next Derrick White types.
Yeah.
And those are my types of guys. Derrick White I wanted the original Derrick White was my kind of player.
By the way, the key is to get that guy before everyone knows he's that guy.
That's right.
Because when Derrick White's going to make $35 million a year, and all of a sudden you're paying, what's that?
You think he makes 35?
He's going to make. I saw the contract he's going to get. It's like almost 35, $33.6 million a year for 4 years, something like that.
That Rick. Okay, fast. Some of these names I agree with. Some of them I don't. Bruce Brown is one of them. He's another like already proven it.
Yeah. But by the way, made $25 million a year in his last contract.
Yeah. And that was a little bit of a let's overpay him for flexibility and so we can match contracts when the time is right.
Sure.
And the Pacers got, Siakam because of it. Colin Sexton was a name. Interesting. I don't know if I love it, but I'm intrigued. Denny Avdia, who was really good last year on a terrible Wizards team, has really
love
improved.
Him. Yeah.
He's really, really improved as a passer, as a defender, as a shooter. Like he's very interesting at his size. Ayo Dosunmu is sort of like similar shape to Derrick White as like a 6'4", 6'5" combo guard that can defend and get to the rim and hit some shots. The shot is the thing that needs to come along. Luke Kennard, I just don't want to have the answer be somebody that doesn't like play very good defense. Is as far as a like a role player goes. If you're gonna be Zach LaVine or if you're gonna be DeMar, then it's like, okay, that is there is some value there because of the load you can carry on the offensive end, but I don't want my role players to be unplayable defensively because Buddy Hield is that. Like if the shot goes away, then all of a sudden it's like
you're
what
useless.
do you do? You're just out of the way. You're totally benched. And Patrick Williams is an interesting one. I'm just only naming Bulls. Is an interesting one as a restricted free agent. I don't totally see it, but he was like he's still super, super young restricted free agent. I think he's a little bit like boxy and not fluid as a practical athlete on a basketball court. But that's a buy lowish type of thing that if those kinds of things hit, then you look really smart.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez pod. Speaking of really smart, the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by LL Pavorsky Jewelers. Simply the smartest guy I know. I'm going to ask you something. If you want to buy an engagement ring, do you want to buy it from an idiot or somebody who's really smart? I'd want to buy it from somebody who's really smart. So you got to go to LL Pavorsky Jewelers. All the other jewelers are idiots. Fucking idiots. LL was the first sponsor of the Ricky, and since he started sponsoring the Ricky 6 years ago, whatever it is, 7 years ago, he has sold over 400 engagement rings to Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners. Amazing. One of which I married, Kevin and Allie. I officiated their wedding. I didn't, and some, a bunch of other weddings I haven't even been to. People have gotten married with the engagement rings, have purchased rings from LL. Certain people had weddings. Didn't invite me to them. Some people I married, some people I haven't been invited to. Look,
some people that got engaged were faking.
That's also true. That's definitely true. Yes, and got married to other people. Who would have known? in any case, if you're going to buy an engagement ring, you have to do it from LL. There's going to be very little pressure. There's going to be very great customer service, very one-to-one, very, he cares, that's why he wants to make an appointment with everybody, because he wants to be able to spend time with you, not cut it short because somebody else walked in the store. It looks like they might have more money. So if you're going to buy an engagement ring from Lee, what you want to do is make an appointment. Give him a call, 215-627-2252. Send him an email, lee@llpavorsky.com, or you can tweet at him at @llpavorsky. Cabana sale must be coming up, I think.
Woo!
I got to check on that. The LL, also a supporter of our charities, Mama T's Community Fridge and Providence Animal Center. LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Where all tampering is legal.
So just a couple of other free agency notes. One, Malik Monk going back to the Sacramento Kings.
Didn't think it was a good fit here. Good for him, Malik Monk. Better fit there. Another option goes away, even if it's not one that I loved.
But here is what I think the best one is, and I believe he was the very first number one on a YouTube big board that I did. Mario Hezonja has an NBA out until July 19th this summer as part of an extension with EuroLeague's Real Madrid.
Let's go.
Sources say he's receiving interest from multiple teams to return to the NBA. The 5-year NBA veteran averaged 11.9 points and 4.4 rebounds for Real Madrid in 2023-2024.
Boy, come on back home, babe. 6'8" wing, can shoot, can handle.
Yep.
Could be our own one of the Bogdanoviches for not that much. I don't know. I wonder how much it's going to cost. But
probably not much.
When was the last time the Sixers have not peeled anybody from not the NBA since Sergio
Rodriguez? Yeah.
I would like something like that, where all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, this guy's in the plan. Like, that would be cool.
Yeah, he's 31. He's won 2 EuroLeague MVPs,
We never got to experience Vasilije Micic as a Sixer.
No, which is a killer.
Which is a bummer. So it would be nice if one of the... There's got to be so many plans in the Sixers war room right now. Like, there just has to be. If it's just one plan and it's just written like PG ? Then I'm gonna fucking lose my mind. If a whiteboard leaks and it's just like, we're fucked, Paul George or nothing, Paul George no matter what, then I'm gonna be like, come on, dude.
Number 2, LOL.
I need to know of like some Australian or Lithuanian that I've never heard of that's just like 27 in his prime that just signs for like 3 years, $50 million, and becomes our third best player. Like, I just need it. I need something like that to be a possibility.
So there was an article that was released on the internet yesterday at 3:39 p.m.
Oh boy.
And I am not going to say the name of the writer because he appears to be a young writer who obviously is trying to gain favor and advance his career. And I actually believe that the writing of an article that is this insane could hurt his career. So I truly believe this is one of the worst things ever written in history. And
in history.
We see a lot, both with Shams and Woj, and a lot of reporting where we're like, oh, that obviously came from so-and-so source, so-and-so agent, so-and-so team, blah, 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 blah. This article was so obviously written by Tobias Harris's dad that I simply have never seen something more obvious in my entire life. Like, it is crazy. It's one of the craziest things I've ever read. So it was on Clutch Points, and the headline is Tobias Harris enters undervalued free agency after rocky 76er stint. And then the secondary headline or whatever is Tobias Harris has steadily been one of the most productive power forwards in the NBA, but is being undervalued ahead of free agency. So I am going to read you some like little clips from this article. Are you ready for that?
I did not. I saw the article.
I asked you not to read it. Yeah.
Our buddy Legs sent me one particular passage, knowing that would be the one that upset me the most. So I know one. Yeah. And I've avoided the rest. So let's hear it.
So insane. All right, here we go. One of the unsung heroes of the Sixers' success has been Tobias Harris.
Unsung.
A player who was oftentimes the
What
scapegoat.
success?
A player who was oftentimes...
The money is for the singing. He made a lot of money. Is that singing enough? Can he sing $40-some million?
A player who was oftentimes the scapegoat whenever things went wrong in Philadelphia.
That's true.
As we evaluate this trade from 5 years ago, many tend to overlook the positive impact Harris made in Philadelphia. Although the Sixers may not have made a deep postseason run, the veteran forward is not the one to blame for the team's struggles. Between all of the injury concerns the Sixers have battled and lack of stability in terms of roster construction and coaching, Harris was underutilized.
Oh, of course.
And these are just different selections. Line. What is impressive is that over his 5 full years with the team, Harris only missed 40 total games.
That's great. That's good stats.
Just because his shots were not falling at times doesn't mean that Harris isn't an efficient and effective player. The fact of the matter is that with the 76ers, he was relegated from being a focal point to being a role player that the team wanted in the corner on offense.
When was he focal point?
Even though he's an efficient three-point shooter, Harris always has been known for being an offensive threat when he can tack open lanes getting to the rim. Next to Maxey and Embiid, Harris was never allowed to be anything more than a catch-and-shoot option. Now, Mike, you might ask, what about the 30 games a year Embiid doesn't play, that they died for Tobias Harris to even do anything?
Anything would be nice. Yeah.
Here we go. When Harris had the ball in his hands and was allowed to be the primary playmaker for the 76ers offensively, he was a very efficient player and among the best scoring forwards in the league. His value and
just saying stuff.
His
value he was among the best 250 players in the world.
His value and opportunities will obviously decline with the rise of Embiid and Maxey, but the 76ers simply stopped turning to Harris despite the veteran's continued leadership on and off the court.
Yeah, they stopped turning to him despite the fact that he was nice.
Outside of
he seems like a nice guy. They stopped asking him to score. And like, what do we?
So
I'm sure Amir Johnson was nice.
Here comes a great one. Outside of usage, teams also always want to know how players stack up against one another. In free agency, Harris is going to be compared to the likes of Pascal Siakam, Paul George, OG Anunoby, and DeMar DeRozan. Interestingly enough, Harris has an edge over every single one of these players, 3 of which are all-star talents.
Okay, I'm waiting for it to be interesting.
Since the start of the 21-22 season, Harris and Paul George have played against each other 5 different times.
Oh, sure.
With the 76ers posting a 3-2 record in these matchups against the Clippers.
That is interestingly. I actually find that interestingly as well. Thank you for pointing that out. That's a head-to-head, and when I watch basketball, to me it's one-on-one.
Right.
Even though he's been underutilized,
yeah,
we're gonna count the wins as in favor of him. And if you don't count the losses, then he's never lost to him.
Yeah. Head-to-head, Harris has averaged 20.2 points and 6.4 rebounds a game compared to George's 19.8 points and 6.6 rebounds a game.
Got him. That's it.
Here comes a line. All in all, these are basically the same numbers.
Sure.
However, Harris does have an edge over George when it comes to how efficient he's been in these matchups.
Oh, Mr. Edge.
Against George, and since
I'm edging myself just listening to this.
Against George, since 2021, Harris has shot 66.7% on 2-point shots and 45% on 3-point shots, and has posted a 67.8% true shooting percentage.
All right, that is pretty good.
On the opposite side,
I don't believe it.
On the opposite side,
sound pretty good.
George has shot only 44.4% against Harris on 2-point shots and 40% on 3-point shots, and posted a 56.3 true shooting percentage.
Okay.
Based on these advanced head-to-head stats,
advanced head-to-head stats, 4 games. That's advanced. Sample size. The best sample size is a Vela sample size.
Harris has been better than George over the last few seasons when it comes to their one-on-one matchups. Okay. Now, here's another good one.
Obviously.
Isn't it a coincidence that Harris...
Okay, interestingly so far.
Isn't it a coincidence that Harris, who is a power forward, recorded 2.0 steals per game in matchups against Pascal Siakam, who is also a power forward, and turned the ball over 2.0 times per game against Harris?
Interestingly.
Do you find that interesting at all?
I'm interestingly Locked in right now.
A similar trend exists also when you compare Harris to Anunoby. Since the start of the 21-22
Similar
season,
trend. A similar trend.
Since the start of the 21-22 season, Harris has played against Anunoby 11 different times, a larger sample size than George and Siakam. Once again, Harris has dominated these meetings.
Dominated.
Averaging 16.5 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 1.3 steals per game, while shooting 47.6 from the floor and 37.7% from three, while Anunoby averaged only 14.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.6 turnovers per game against Harris.
And that's how basketball goes.
Works. So there's even more to come.
So my name is Mike, and a similar trend is that his name is Spike.
Yep. Similar trend.
Interestingly enough.
Figure that out. We'll get to, there's even more, better stuff. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. If you have been injured by somebody writing a Tobias Harris article that is obvious propaganda, you should go to Kornblau and Kornblau, the premier boutique personal injury law firm in southeastern PA with some of the biggest medical malpractice results anywhere. Here's the most important thing. When you call Kornblau and Kornblau, you're going to get Adam. You can get in touch directly with him. A lot of the other personal injury law firms you see, they are referral services. You'll oftentimes hear this disclaimer. Well, can't practice law in your state, but call us anyway. That's because you're not even really dealing with that law firm. You get passed off. You get referred to somebody else. Kornblau and Kornblau, Adam specifically, is going to take your case personally and he won't be offended personally, but he personally will take the case.
Yes, he will.
Yeah, well, he might be offended. And he personally will communicate with you. It's not some big, personal injury machine law firm. It is when I say boutique, it means you're getting one-on-one service. He will come to you if you need to. He will do house calls. The only personal injury lawyer I know that will do house calls, even though they have law offices all over the Delaware Valley. 4 decades of taking care of people. Let Kornblau and Kornblau take care of you. Whether it's slip and fall, injured at work, car accident, medical malpractice, he is the guy for you. If you think you might have a case, give him a call or shoot him an email. It doesn't cost you anything. 215-576-7200. Ask for Adam or email Kornblau, that's Kornblau, at kornblauandkornblau.com. Kornblau and Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. Not only has Harris dominated head-to-head matchups against some of the best at his position, but he's done so at both ends of the floor.
Oh, sure.
Harris can score and defend at a high level, which is why he should be considered a top option in free agency by any team needing an experienced leader who can contribute to winning. Now, here comes the best one.
Yeah, I think this is the one I know.
Harris is the type of player who makes winning plays for his team. Whether it is making the extra pass on offense or grabbing a 50-50 rebound, he has been this type of player his whole 13-year career in the NBA.
50-50 ball is what I was sent, and that is...
It's just a lie.
Just a lie.
It's a lie. It's a straight-up lie.
It's just false.
It didn't happen that way.
The man hasn't bent down in 6 years to pick up a ball. He's never, not once, drawn a charge.
Not one time in his entire Sixers career did he draw a charge.
That is hard to do. I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
I could have done it.
Drawn one charge?
I could have drawn, if you allowed me to play all the minutes that Tobias played.
Yes.
In 6 years, I would have drawn one charge. I would have done it.
Couple quick ones to finish up. Given how comparable he is to players like Siakam, George, and Anunoby in terms of his overall numbers, Harris's value should be similar to his counterparts.
Great.
He suggests maybe OKC because Harris's ability to be a secondary playmaker and primary score option next to a young guard like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is certainly worth discussing. Or here comes a good one. Like the Thunder, the Spurs are a young team with potential for immediate growth. The main reason for this is because of Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs are going to make moves to set themselves up for success with Wemby, and Harris's leadership would be extremely valuable for Greg Popovich's team.
Great. If the Thunder sign Tobias Harris, I will let this guy come on this podcast and whoop my ass. Just fucking beat the shit out of me, bro. Come on.
The writer or
The writer.
The writer. Okay.
Come do it. Fucking just I got a glass jaw, man. I'm waiting for it.
The article is crazy.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You would think if he was this good, the Sixers would have been better.
Yeah. We got all these 50-50 balls, incredible leader.
I wouldn't even call him 50-50 balls.
Not against Tobias.
Not
Because
against
you're going to
Tobias.
lose. Yeah.
You're losing.
Yeah.
And you saw that in the Knicks series. That's why the Sixers got so many of those. Tobias was all over the place in that series.
Talented
Couldn't
scorer.
keep him off the glass.
Talented scorer. That's why he scored 0 points in Game 6.
That is why. That is so similar to
All
why.
my message to the writer is,
Ask for money.
yeah, God bless Terrell Harris, but he doesn't have enough clients for this article to be worth it. It's
Ask
just
for
not
a
worth it.
really, like a steak dinner at least.
How much, let me ask you this, Mike. How much would it cost to get you to write this article and put your name on it and take it seriously, never crack?
I would say not that much. I think people would know.
Oh,
I think people would, if I did that earnestly,
yeah. Everybody would assume it wasn't. Yeah.
I'd do it for $20. I'll write that shit.
Well,
Copy paste.
thank you to the gentleman who wrote that.
Good work.
Yeah.
You do it for the love. Maybe he just did it for the love.
Maybe. Probably not, though.
Maybe he just likes wildly pointless players that are destined for a 36-win team.
A question, a draft question from Wayne for you. Rights to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com.
Wayne.
This question
Wayne, Sixers interest, Wayne. Paul
yes,
George.
Yes. And it's related a little bit.
Okay.
This question is more for Mike. Let's say the Sixers hypothetically sign Paul George into their cap space. Would it be crazy to consider trading up in the draft, like top 5, to add a cost-controlled role player with high upside? The top of this year's draft is considered weak by many, so it may not cost as much as it normally would. I was thinking the 16th pick from this year and possibly 2 future firsts, but I have no idea. I personally like what I've seen from Reed Shepherd as a future backcourt mate to Maxey. Considering Mike's the draft guy, I wanted to hear his take.
No, definitely would not trade up in this draft.
Yeah.
Certainly 100% no if you're the Sixers. Maybe if you're a team that needs to, is rebuilding and wants to find another star and has, if the Thunder wanted to do it, that'd be fine. But I would absolutely not, under any circumstances, trade future first to trade up in this draft. 0%. There's a lot of players that I like that seem to be falling that could be options at 16. And there's plenty of role players that I like in the 12 to 25 range that I would see them trading down for to pick up another second rounder or whatever. That would be fine. But I would not trade up. No way.
Also, it would be nice to get a player who could contribute to a team that you hope is a championship contender in his rookie year, but I certainly would not count on a rookie, no matter who it is, to be an instant contributor. It'd be nice if it happens, but
Cason Wallace was a real contributor on Thunder last year, and I think that there are guys in this draft that can do similar stuff of just make the right play, high IQ, play both ends, hit enough shots, that kind of thing. That's what you're looking for. I think it's, the Pacers last year took Jarris Walker, middle of the lottery, and he barely played this season. And so I think you have to, if you're going to take a freshman, even if they're defensive minded freshmen like Jarris is, you just have to expect that they're not going to play. That's why I'm not trading up for anybody. I like where the Sixers are. If they traded back 5-8 spots and picked up another pick, another asset, something, I would be happy about that. That would be sick, I think. Because I think that there are plenty of maneuverability options for them at this range. And I do think that while the top line talent in this draft is light, for sure, I think the role player talent in the first round is quite high. So I'm excited for them to come away with one or maybe 2 of those guys at 42. They have 42 as well.
I don't fucking know.
think they have 42. 41.
And a non-basketball question from Wayne. Spike, I know if you've talked about this before, please ignore. What is the main reason that you're vegan? From my experience, there are 3 reasons people do it. 1, personal health benefits. 2, the animal product industry has negative effects on lower income communities as well as the environment. 3, feeling bad for the animals. I've tried being vegan before twice, but have not been able to stick with it yet. My motivation for attempting to be vegan thus far has been for personal health and social reasons. But if I were to try again, I think animal welfare rights would play a much bigger role. Curious to hear what motivates you. It is animal rights, 100%. I was not vegan. I tried it like maybe 15 or so years ago. It was much more difficult then. After I got my dog a couple years later, somehow it like got into my head, because I love my dog very much. It got into my head that other animals aren't that different, and it fucked me up. And I immediately became pescatarian. And the reason I was okay eating fish is because like they're ugly or whatever. But then it evolved into vegetarian, and then I understood what happens at dairy farms generally is not too much better than what happens at the other places. So then now almost like sort of psycho in that I don't even consume honey. So, but I don't really, I try not to make an issue of it or talk about it very much, because it's people sort of, when you bring it up, they feel attacked in some way, and I don't do it for that reason. I don't try to bring it up all that often.
I like the idea that you only eat ugly animals, though. That's
but by the way, like that is some people. There is some logic to that, just in terms of people. Like I think people look at chickens and they're like, they're fucking gross, whatever. You know. But you look at a dog, you're like, how can I eat a dog? He's so cute, you know. So, but that's it. I don't judge unless I'm pushed. What happens is if I'm at a meal or something, it usually comes up at a restaurant, even if I try to do it quietly, somebody will say to me, whoa, they'll do that. At first they'll do the, where do you get your protein? Which is completely annoying. And then they'll make, so you just eat rabbit food? And that's immediately when I fire back with what it looks like in factory farms. And I get very condescending about it, but I try not to talk about it overall. Before we go, first of all, just a reminder, there will be a pod that I think is going to get released on Monday from Dan Olinger and a scout friend of his that is 100% draft focused. They're going to talk about what the Sixers could do in the first and second round, different options. And then we will be here. Mike may be here, but Dan and I will definitely.
Is this my last podcast before the...
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. You can do a newsletter about the guys that you like.
No.
No?
Can't do it. But can I name a couple guys I like now?
Yes. One quick thing, and then name guys you like. Because I have like 10 more minutes, so we can definitely do it.
Okay.
We just never played this clip. And I just feel like the intellectual stability of the podcast, we cannot play. I know it's bad that the Celtics won the title, and I actually don't hate Jason Tatum at all, but this clip is
I've seen this.
So awful. Yeah, everyone has. But this is after they win, Jason Tatum, and it's really worth watching too.
It's a surreal feeling. We did it. We did it!
There's a lot more of those kinds of clips
yes.
that we kept doing.
And the mashup of that one along with the KG, anything is possible, is so... It's so spot on that he just stole it. I feel bad for him that anyone feels like that watched, that they feel like they need to do that.
Look, not everybody has their own personality.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I relate to the idea of like, sometimes I feel like as I'm experiencing something, I'm just like watching myself experience it. And I feel like I'm not like in the moment.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that like you're building your whole life to play basketball at this high of a level, and then you're in the NBA and you come up short, and then finally break through the NBA finals, and you're like, I'm supposed to feel like great, like this is all happening right now, but I haven't like done any of those kinds of reactions yet. So I should do one. I'm gonna try it, and it just felt really, really inauthentic. But I understand why that happens. he just doesn't have much personality there. Kind of.
Do you want to give? He doesn't. He does. And I wonder what it's like being, you're older than him now, to being like 25, having grown up where everything you do is public from from when you're a teenager, and understand that your reaction to this will be dissected. Must make it difficult, but that is not the way.
Yeah. I would be doing like embarrassing dances. I would be embarrassing in a different way. I do think I would just be like, we'll see. Maybe I win a championship on Wednesday night during the draft, and we'll see what my reaction is then when I get interviewed courtside of my adult rec league game. We'll find out. But that's the reason I will not be on the podcast draft night unless we lose in the first round, which would be a bummer. 16 is a cool place to pick. There's a lot of really good players that can be had there. Devin Carter is a junior out of Providence who has been kind of skyrocketing up draft boards. There's a decent chance he's not there by 16, but as like a, Derrick Whitey, Josh Hardy type of player, he really improved his three-point shooting and taking difficult shots from outside as a junior. He's 22, so he'd be ready to contribute now. Long, strong, physical, a dog on the defensive end, and can get to the rim and can shoot. I think he'd be really a really interesting player. There's I think the two buckets. I talked about it last podcast. There's like two buckets. There's like let's get a role player that we can just kind of slide in now, and they can be helpful. Probably now we can have them through their prime, basically from their like 22 to 26 years season, whatever. And then there's this guy's falling. Like he has too much upside for him to drop past us. I like Isaiah Collier. He's in the second handle as a freshman out of USC, who had a lot of buzz coming in. He was projected to be a top 3 pick in the draft for much of the year, and SC was kind of a shit show this year. He's like a powerful guard with like really wonderful vision. People have been calling him like the best advantage creator in the draft. Really, really good handles. I think body wise, he's not a good defender now, but should be able to be good enough as a sort of a combo guard. And I just really like how he's so fast with the ball in his hands. He can get any shot he wants, and he's a really, really good passer. It's surprising that in this kind of a draft, the SC having such a bad season is making him, and he was inefficient like a lot of guards are, like Maxey was at Kentucky. The fact that that's making his stock slip so much is strange to me, and I think the kind of thing that Daryl would do, as Dan Olinger highlighted in on the Ricky site, is like if this high profile, formerly top prospect guy is falling, he's just going to take him. And if Collier falls, I would like him. A similar guy like that is Bub Carrington from out of Pitt, 6'5" freshman. I don't like him quite as much as I like Collier, but people really like him a lot. The shooting numbers really scare me off, but he can get his own shot wherever. He's a smart player and improved as a handler as the year went on, and people like him a lot. He's not one of my guys, but I would add him in the Collier mix if he falls as much as he could. If they trade down, I like DeRozan Holmes out of Dayton, power forward center. Sort of, I saw somebody compare him to like a Naz Reid situation. I think he's a good enough shooter where he could, not that many attempts, obviously, but he could play some power forward next to Joel. And he's long and athletic and smart and can really pass really well for that guy. And has some B-ball Paul level rim protection and steals and switchability on the defensive end. And he's just more athletic as a rim runner as well. So I think there's a lot of versatility in DeRozan Holmes out of Dayton, who's a 22-year-old junior, that I would like a lot. Let's see. I'm not a Jacoby Walter guy. I just don't really believe everyone says he's a freshman out of Baylor and was highly touted and just didn't perform as well as people expected. The shot just doesn't look great to me. It doesn't look that repeatable, but he came in as a dead-eye shooter and just didn't shoot that well, so I could be wrong. I'm not a Jared McKean guy either. He's an excellent shooter. He's like Jamal Murray-ish as a shooter. Really good balance, but he's just small. and he tries on the defensive end, but he's just small. And I just worry that he's not going to be able to get a shot off. And when Maxi's going to be here for as long as he's going to be here, like, I don't want to draft a guy in a draft where I think they could get somebody that's decent. I don't want to get a guy that you go like, okay, well, he can't play with Maxi almost ever. That would bum me out. And then in the second round, I mean, take a fucking swing. Like, Isaiah Crawford is just like a crazy out of Louisiana Tech. He's a 22-and-a-half-year-old, 6'6" senior. Can just like get to the rim and play defense. And maybe the shot comes along and he's just unreal. Like I think that's the kind of thing that Daryl could go like, this guy's weird in the like a Chuck Hayes type of way. Maybe he's awesome. I would like somebody weird. I like KJ Simpson out of Colorado, 22-year-old, 6'2" guard. Seems like a really good shooter. Total like Fred VanVleet dog type on the defensive end. Kind of looks like a smaller offensive Devin Booker-y. Like his shot just looks Devin Booker-y. Maybe he looks Devin Booker-y is why I'm saying it. I think he could be an interesting backup option in the second round. I would like that. I'm not looking at you, so if you're making any faces at me, I'm not saying.
I'm not. I'm just. Okay. I'm not dead eye. Like, I don't know any of the people that you're talking about, right? Okay. So I'm not dead eye, just sort of like sleeping, but I'm not making faces. I'm just sort of acting interested. But what you're saying doesn't make any sense.
That's fair.
To me.
No, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Ron Holland would be. I mentioned him on the last podcast, but Ron Holland would be like, this guy was
sounds fake. Are you sure he's not fake?
He's like he's awesome. He's like a 6'8" power forward, strong as hell, high motor, defense, can get to the rim really well. Like that's a gamble at 16 that I would go like he was pretty rough on the G League Ignite team that lost a fuckload of games, but could be special. Could be a guy where you're just like, how did this guy fall? How did this guy land at 16? The shot is the swing skill as it is so often with like big athletic wings, but he's really, really good. And with those guys, like having a high motor and a willingness to play defense, like that's so much of it for me. And at the very least, he's going to be like a helpful player on an NBA team as he figures out how to space the floor when the ball's not in his hand. And I think that's just like so worth it at 16 if you think that you can have a structure to get him to become a better shooter. And then another guy that would be just like totally fine, two-way player, like completely useful. I think he might make like an all rookie team this year because of how just ready-made to contribute he is Tristan da Silva, who's a big wing out of Colorado, who just like, he can shoot, he can defend, he can just kind of do everything there is on a basketball court at like a reasonable level. And I think he'll contribute to winning on pretty good teams for his whole career. And I think that it would be a low upside-ish pick. He's probably like a 6th or 7th guy. But I think that's completely fine for somebody ready to step in right now at 23 and play like, rotation NBA minutes. It's gonna be fun. I'm really bummed that I've been asking for a 2-day NBA draft for so long, and the fucking time that it happens, I have my playoff game for my big league that we're the number 1 seed in.
Well, since you're already planning for next season in our closed door pod meetings,
closed door, our winter meetings.
My guess is that next year's draft will be 2 days, and the second day will not be early in the afternoon. The reason that's happening is because the presidential debate is that evening. So, yeah. All right. Well, unless something big happens Sixers wise, regular pod will be next after the first round, but we will have that Olinger draft pod that drops probably Tuesday. I think that'll drop Tuesday. Otherwise, we will talk to you on Wednesday night.
I'm excited to have like a team.
It would be nice at some point.
3/4 players at this point.
Really 2/4 players. I mean, 2 of the contracts are unguaranteed. So
Ricky's wasn't guaranteed.
I believe Ricky's is the Hinkie special.
Yeah. Well, I just guaranteed it.
Okay, there we go. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah. Lick face.